How can we find clarity when we're swirling in confusion and railing against the unknown? Join us for this incredible conversation about Gene Key 64 with Sabian Symbols Virgo 13 through 17. Welcome to the Free to Be Free portal. We're so glad you're here with us. I'm Julia Ananda, your host, and I'm with Gene Keys guide, Margaret Miller. Margaret, what an incredible topic today.
Hi, Julia. Yeah, I'm excited for this conversation as well. We're looking at Gene Key 64, the shadow of confusion, the gift of imagination, and the city of illumination. And this shadow of confusion is something that I think everybody can relate to. And it really is, it's an individual phenomenon, but it also is sort of a collective consciousness phenomenon. And it sort of relates to um, the idea of the Maya. And I want to talk about that just a little bit because, this if you look at the Siddhi of Illumination, you can see that this gene key is very much about light. And Richard Rudd really often refers to it as, this particular the shadow of confusion as the obscuring of our light, right? The obscuring of our light. And so it's like a blanket covering the consciousness of humanity, obscuring us from and blocking us from the reality of who we really are versus this illusion or the Maya, right? And so I want to start out just uh, with this quote from Richard Rudd from the Gene Keys book, and it says, "Confusion in itself is a perfectly natural state. The ancient alchemists referred to this state as the Massa Confusa, the chaos of the elements, likening it to the primal swirling that preceded the birth of the universe. Confusion is a state with neither order nor structure. It is a state rippling with pure potentiality." And I think that's such a powerful statement because it provides a way of looking at confusion that is so empowering because, if we recognize that this confusion is is just the swirling of the primal elements of some transformation or something that's waiting to unfold, waiting to be birthed, then we can give it the space to do so. And this is one of the really important things about confusion is that it requires time in order to sort itself out, in order to become clarity, right? And but what happens to us is that it's so uncomfortable, right? This state of confusion is so uncomfortable because our mind wants answers and that it wants it now. It wants everything to be solved and that state of unknowing is just the most uncomfortable state for us. And so our mind gets in there and tries to, figure it all out when there's not really any possibility of figuring out something that is swirling in this sort of primordial soup that hasn't come into fruition yet, right? It hasn't shown itself. And so it requires time and it requires patience, right? It requires us to go inside of ourselves and quiet the mind for a while. And so the practice of, heart-centered awareness is really, really good for when we find ourselves in that really uncomfortable state of confusion to stop. Don't take any action right now. Take a moment at least, right? And go in and and be that still point be the eye of the hurricane, right? Be the still point and allow that confusion, allow that um, primordial soup to just swirl around. And the programming partner to this gene key 64 is the 63rd gene key, which is the shadow of doubt, the gift of inquiry, and the Siddhi of truth. And so when we're able to really, you know, allow ourselves the space to inquire, right? To be in that still point, really, in the eye of the hurricane, and just relax into it, and maybe ask just a simple question. It doesn't have to be like, give me the answer. And that fact, that probably is bringing you right back into your mind. It's more like, what do I most need to be aware of right now? Or something like that. What can I be shown right now in this moment? And then to listen for that and to feel for that. And this is the sort of the sparking of the imagination, because if we are patient and we wait for that, something will be shown, right? And I'll get a little bit more into the gift of imagination in just a moment, but I also wanted to say about confusion and its relationship to that 63rd gene key, its programming partner. The shadow of confusion breeds the shadow of doubt, right? And so we begin to doubt ourselves, right? When we're in confusion, then we're doubting ourselves. We might be doubting others. We might be doubting the whole situation, or our whole lives, or whatever it is. But it breeds that. And then that doubt in turn feeds the confusion, right? And so in order for us to come to a place where we can actually take action on something, we have to come out of that state of confusion. We have to allow it to pass and allow uh, that imagination to give us some information, some vision, some spark of light that allows us a space for clarity, right? And then we can take action. Then we can begin to take maybe a small step forward, out of that confusion and into clarity, because can the gift of illumination, or I'm sorry, the gift of imagination then is, it's not only visioning. It is, it includes that, visioning and dreaming and so forth. But it also is about allowing our our gift of imagination, or a gift frequencies to to flow out into the world. And that happens when we have some little bit of clarity. Then we can take just enough, we have enough clarity to take one little step forward, and then imagination can help us to bring, you know, that change, or whatever it is, that transformation, or help to allow that transformation to unfold in our lives. And imagination itself, is about magic, right? It's bringing that magic into our lives, right? Because it's the same root word, imagination and magic. And then sort of that magic or imagination, I'm trying to remember how it was described, but it's like the, come on, it means bringing uh something into matter, right? It means uh manipulating matter. Imagination is manipulating something into form, right? And so there's an active part of it, right? There's the dreaming and visioning part of it, and then there's also this um, more active bringing it into form, manipulating the matter into, manipulating the prima materia into matter, right? So it's really powerful there. And and when we it requires us to trust our dreams and our visions, right? Imagination, in order to really tap in and utilize the gift of imagination, we have to trust in what we receive, right? So we first have to be still enough to receive it in the first place, right? We have to go inwards enough to be quiet, allow the confusion to swirl around, but be quiet and still enough inside, be connected with our heart, and then allow that to be shown to us. And once we're shown, to trust it and to move forward with it. I think this is a place where a lot of us a lot of times get hung up, and we go back into that shadow of doubt, that self-doubt, right? And so the gift of inquiry, right, which is that programming partner, allows us to ask just open-ended questions that give us more clues, right? And I'm just being reminded of a lot of different, people who use affirmations and different things, but one of them that comes to mind is, how good can it get? Yeah, how good can it get? And just to ask that, like if you're in a difficult situation and you're all confused, ask that question, right? Like go inside, do the work to be able to listen for the answer, right? But how good can it get? I've always thought that was a beautiful question to ask. So then, um, yeah, the 64th gene key is the culmination, right, of all of the other gene keys. And so it contains with it all of the wisdom of all of the other gene keys. This is a living transmission, and they are all interwoven, right? The 64 faces of love, right? And the 64 faces of fear, I guess, right? And so it's always about that moving out of fear into love. No matter what gene key we're talking about, that's always the that pathway, right? It's moving out of the fear and into love. So let's go ahead and look at the Sabian symbols here for a moment before I talk about the Siddhi of Illumination. So Virgo 13, a powerful statesman wins to his cause a hysterical mob. Okay, so the mob is reacting to the state of confusion, right? Railing against that confusion, wanting answers when we want them now, demanding answers while they create more confusion. And the statesman is taking that moment, that opportunity to present his vision, taking action on what he's imagined and using the power of his personality, his charisma, his surety to offer relief from that confusion. Whatever it is, relief from that confusion, which is all, it's gladly received by the mob, right? By this hysterical mob, right? And they will jump on it, and they're because they're fearful of the unknown. And sometimes it turns out that the solutions presented don't actually solve the problems, but only create, but only divert the attention and the energy away from the problem and towards a particular agenda, right? And so I just think this is a really powerful uh, Sabian symbol to contemplate, as we, because we can only find solutions from, we can't find them from the state of confusion. That only, whatever action we take from the state of confusion is going to create more confusion. It's not going to solve the problem, right? And so it's up to each one of us, right, to have the awareness of when we're confused and to go in and feel for the the truth, the light that's inside of us, and then decide what actions to take. So then Virgo 14, a splendid family tree engraved on a sheet of parchment paper. So this is talking about the importance of ancestral background in all of our accomplishments, and it's the power to experience deeply, cultural sensitiveness, okay, and heritage. And so it talks about sort of the exceptional fidelity. This is part of the interpretation, is exceptional fidelity to some unique promise of self, and so an ultimate achievement of distinction, right? So the invitation to remember where we came from and to tap into the imagination and the visions of our ancestors and to call on them, right? I think it's really an invitation to call on the ancestors and to to you know understand their successes and failures, both, to help us empower clarity and belief in our own dreams and visions. What do we want to create and what do we want to avoid recreating? Right? Because imagination, right, is trying to move us forward. It's trying to move us into the new or help us to create the new. Virgo 15, old lace handkerchief, some rare perfume, a mirror. So this one sort of builds on the last one because it may be something that you inherited, right? It seems like it's these items that may have been passed down. So this ultimate um, fineness of the material values shading into the spiritual. Okay, cultural restraint is another way this is interpreted. And so just reading sort of from the interpretation, an effective refinement of personal manner and a high achievement through an exceptional charm. And so this energy it's showing us about how to utilize the fineries, how to utilize the gifts of our ancestors to to improve on how we live our lives and how we uh, express ourselves and how we come across, right? And so they're giving us clues when something of that was of value to one of our ancestors is passed down. There's a clue in it, right? It's a gift from them, and it's a clue towards how we can be and how we can move forward. So it requires the use of our imagination in order to be able to receive those messages from that. So Virgo 16, a very different symbol than the last several, and that is an orangutan in a zoo. And so this is there's several different interpretations of this, but one I'm going with comes from James Burgess, um, and he talks about the wildness within us, and it's he's saying that it's counterproductive for us to ignore the fact that we have a wild beast inside and that that we have to come to terms with it, and we have to rebalance ourselves, rebalancing of the primal forces, right? So you can think about that confusion as this that that primal energy being in a state of confusion, not in balance, right? And so our emotional state can get into that hysteria that we saw in that previous symbol, the mob, the hysterical mob, and that we have the capacity to control how that that wildness, or how that beast is expressed, right? That energy, that pure life force energy can be used to for good or for ill, right? And so we have the power to be present within side of ourselves. And this is something I talk about all the time with people, is we have the ability to control one thing, and that's to be the steward of our own energy. And and so everything else, we can have influence on some things, but really that's the one thing that we can have control over. And so we learn through our living of our life how to do that, and how to express those energies in a productive way, and something in a way that imagines the highest visions and the highest versions of ourselves. So then the last one here is Virgo 17. A volcanic eruption releases powerful telluric energies, powerful earth energies. And so this is that it's very similar to that energy, that primal force within us, that what the true passion of our heart is, or petulance and tantrums, right? And not getting what we want, and so having a fit, or you know anger and rage, and raging against the unknown, raging against you know life. And and so this, I love this symbol. um it's actually a very personal symbol to me. It's the symbol for my moon in the astrology chart. So I have a sort of a deep relationship with it. And I see it as this, you can see how when we cultivate the energy within us, then we can, and begin to allow it to, through our imagination, to begin to take form, then it can burst out into the world through our passion, through our whatever our creative expression is, and to create this, because volcanoes create new land masses, right? They create new earth. And so it's just a very powerful symbol that leads us then to the sort of the contemplation, really, of the Siddhi of Illumination, because the Siddhi of Illumination is about the cultivating that inner light and purifying ourselves to the extent that this light just has to burst forth from inside of us. Because we are these beings of light, right? We are beings of light, and that light has been obscured by the shadow frequencies, by the frequencies of fear. And when we clear away that fear and begin to operate at the gift frequency, operating through our hearts and through love, then we begin to, uh, that light shines brighter and brighter until there's nowhere for it to go but out into the world. I feel like it's really important to remember that this the state of confusion is always uh, alerting us to the possibility of some kind of transformation, some kind of birthing of something into the new. And so that tapping into the imagination by going inwards and stilling ourselves, right, gives us that opportunity to, even though the confusion is still there, to listen deeply inside of ourselves and feel for the answer, through our heart knowing that it will be shown to us. And and the mind, we can't rely on the mind in this state of confusion, because it's going to try and fix it. It's going to try and find a way to eliminate the confusion, but it fixes it. It makes it solid. It makes it stay. It makes it worse. How our mind, the machinations of the mind, just continue to make it worse and worse. And so we have to trust. We have to trust in what we receive through our heart knowing, and give it time, give the confusion, give that space, give it time to resolve itself, right? And not take action until it's taken its course, and but trust in what we have received, and then continue to imagine and bring that vision, into form.
Right. And I love how you said that a spark of light comes in and makes space for clarity.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that we are that, right? We are that light. We are, we have that light within us at all times. It's just being obscured, because the confusion is that railing against the unknown. It's the fear of the unknown. And when we make peace with that at some level, then and get comfortable being uncomfortable, really get comfortable with knowing that we are in a time, we are in, just anybody in this life is in the midst of the unknown. We don't know what's going to happen next. We never really truly know what's going to happen next. But when we go inside, we have the ability to respond from love to whatever it is that's happening, and our imagination will show us the correct path, what's correct for us.
Yeah. And how does imagination open us up into illumination?
Well, it's like any of the gift frequencies, because I started to say this earlier, that the 64th gene key sort of um, encompasses all of the gene keys, right? All of the shadows, all of the gifts, and all of the siddhis. And they all operate sort of in the same way. As we move higher and higher into the gift frequency, right? That in this case, the gift of imagination, and we keep following that, and we keep trusting our what we are our highest dreams and visions. We keep trusting them, and we keep energizing those, right? We're not focused in fear, we're focused in love, and we're bringing those those dreams and visions into fruition in our lives in the best ways that we can, emulating and um, acting as if, and really trusting that. Then at some point, and nobody knows when that is or how that happens, the siddhi descends, or it emerges, right? And it shows itself, and that comes as that bursting of our light out into the world. In the case of this siddhi, it's illumination, where the whole being is uh, illuminated, filled with light, and spilling light out into the world.
Right. It's like as we are moving away from fear, and into trust, we're getting lighter and lighter and more transparent and more transparent and more radiant.
Right. And lighter in terms of going from the heaviness to the lightness as well.
Margaret, thank you for taking these really enormous topics and making them more understandable for us. Yeah, it's really valuable. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Yeah. It's my joy.
And for me personally, it's so helpful to have some steps to move from that shadow of confusion when we just can't find the way forward, you know, to go into stillness and open up for that spark of light. Yeah, to help us ground and align and lighten up and breathe and move forward. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And to our audience, if you loved this video, please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe for more content, and let us know in the comments how this landed for you. It's a really powerful topic. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.